Okay, let's dive right in. Big news today, Tuesday, May 14th. The sun just let loose quite a powerful flare.
That's right, an X2.7 class flare, easily the strongest we've seen in 2025.
And the effects were immediate, weren't they? Radio blackouts reported across Europe, Asia, the Middle East.
Exactly, hitting the sunlit side of Earth right when it peaked. It was pretty fast.
So for this deep dive, we're looking at a report, right? Using NOAA data, SWPC info.
Yes, NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center, and we've even got some notes from aurora chasers watching closely.
Our goal then is to basically unpack this event, what happened, why it matters for you, and maybe what's next.
Cut through the jargon and get to the core of it.
Okay, so this X2.7 flare, where did it actually originate on the sun?
It came from a newly emerging sunspot region. They've labeled it AR4087.
A new one, interesting.
And the timing.
It peaked around 4:25 a.m. Eastern Time, that's 0825 GMT, which explains why those specific parts of the world felt the radio impact.
Right, the sunlit side. Now, X2.7, how significant is that? Can you remind us about the flare classes? Sure. Flares are ranked A, B, C, M. X, A is the smallest, X is the largest.
The jump between letters is big.
Oh yeah, it's a 10-fold increase in energy each time. So M is 10 times C, and X is 10 times M.
Wow, so X2.7, while maybe on the lower end of X, is still quite powerful.
Absolutely. A major solar event.
And it was this energy that caused the radio blackouts. How does that work exactly?
Well, the flare released a burst of X-rays and extreme ultraviolet radiation. This stuff travels at light speed.
So it hit Earth very quickly.
Almost instantly, it slams into our upper atmosphere and ionizes it. It adds electrical charge, basically.
And that messes with radio waves.
Precisely. It disrupts high-frequency radio signals. Think shortwave radio, some communication systems used by airlines, maritime. They experience dropouts. An R3 level blackout, which is considered strong.
Okay, makes sense. Now, people have to talk about CMEs, coronal mass ejections, after flares like this. Is that a concern here?
It's definitely a possibility. A CME is this huge cloud of solar plasma and magnetic field thrown out from the sun. If one hits Earth, it can trigger geomagnetic storms.
Which means auroras. And maybe other effects.
Exactly. Auroras are the beautiful part, but strong storms can impact satellites, power grids, GPS.
But the report suggested we might be okay for now. Something about the sunspot's location.
That's the crucial detail currently. AR4087, the source region, is still near the edge, the limb of the sun as we see it.
Ah, so it's not pointing right at us.
Not directly. So even if there was a CME associated with this flare, it likely wouldn't be Earth-directed, at least not this one.
You say currently, in this one? That sounds like the situation could change.
It absolutely could. The sun rotates, and AR4087 is rotating towards us. It'll be more Earth-facing over the next week or so.
And this region is pretty active already.
Very. It produced multiple flares already, including a decent M5.3 flare just hours before this X2.7 event. It's clearly unstable.
So if it keeps firing off flares like this next week,
then we could be looking at a more direct impact. Geomagnetic storms, auroras further south than usual, that becomes much more likely.
An aurora chaser, Vincent Litvina, was quoted as being concerned.
Yeah, basically saying, let's see what this active region does when it's staring right at us. It's a wait-and-see situation, but with a definite heads-up needed for next week.
It does feel like overall solar activity is picking up again, doesn't it? Wasn't there another X flare just recently?
There was, yes. Just yesterday, NES 1.2. But that was from a different region, AR4086, which is now rotating off the Earth-facing side.
Okay, so 2 X flares in quick succession from different spots.
It suggests the sun might be waking up from a slightly quieter period. We're heading towards solar maximum, so increased activity is expected, but these events are notable.
Okay, let's recap quickly. We had a strong X2.7 flare today, caused radio blackouts.
Check.
A possible CME, but probably not aimed at Earth right now because of the sunspot's location.
Correct, the location is key for now.
But that sunspot, AR4087, is rotating towards us and is pretty active, so next week could be interesting.
That's the main takeaway, yes. Keep an eye on space weather forecasts next week.
And this fits a pattern of the sun generally getting more active.
It seems that way. It really shows how dynamic the sun is and how it can affect us here on Earth, our technology, and even give us those amazing aurora shows.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? As we rely more and more on technology, satellites, communication, how will these bigger, maybe more frequent solar events affect us in ways we haven't even fully anticipated yet?
That's the big question looking forward. Definitely something to ponder.